wanted to look now at some of the more promising areas of location analytics, location intelligence in the insurance world. So getting down to some of the brass tacks of how it actually helps in areas like underwriting, in areas like claims, in areas like fraud detection. So let's start with underwriting and maybe even underwriting and marketing. I don't want to marry those two together because I know underwriters don't always like to do that. But if you're looking at underwriting specifically, what are some of the key advantages of location intelligence in this area? And if we could get as specific as we can in terms of the practical benefits of location intelligence, what are they?
Well, when we look, I mean, as a wholesaler, because we're looking at smaller numbers of transactions, but we look at each risk very specifically. So we look at the construction, occupancy, protection, exposure. So having access, cost-effective, reliable data for us would eliminate some of the costs, future costs, because we still want to know what the plumbing like, because we want to underwrite that risk internally. But this will help mitigate some of those costs. It gives us an idea. Most of the risks we deal with are discarded accounts that the RSA may not want, because we deal with the special risks that are distressed coverages, usually rooming houses and things. So location obviously is a key importance. We know already that it's not a prime location, but this does give us an information that helps us identify those ones that we need to focus more attention on, even in that area. So it's an important part, because when we look at some of those issues, we would then take and say, well, this is a risk. Let's say we would say this is a risk that we need to have somebody knock on the door and go in to see. But it would eliminate some of that cost for us to make those selections in advance, So it could be very useful for us on that side.
Right.
The determination of concentration of values much easier to do and more dynamic and in real time. So you've got location intelligence on all of your current clients, and now you can quickly see, well, let me look at a 50-foot radius from a specific in focus, or what about 100? What's 300 look like? What else is coming into play? Within that radius, now what are some of the other specific data points I'm interested in? Where are the fire hydrants? Where are the fire halls? Is there a river flowing through this? And now you can bring all this together, specifically by having the sort of geocoded information, as opposed to looking at a fire block or an FSA territory.
Yeah, I agree. I can say that. I would say that, I mean, in terms of risk understanding, to your point, yes, there are a number of perils where it's absolutely key that we got the precise location. Think about flood risk. Today we know that the flood risk is not only happens on a postcode level, but you need to be much more specific in order to have a precise assessment of the risk. And to your point, yes, having a better view, a holistic view on your risk accumulation, the combination of geocoding and putting all the data on a map, digital mapping, makes you enables you to have this holistic view of all your risk.
Good point. I think with underwriting, people talk about portfolio analysis, risk aggregation. Can it drive improved profitability? Will it improve your combined ratio? I mean, is it doing that now, and can it do that? Like, is it actually making a difference in terms of profitability?
It does, but I would say, would it improve your profitability? Yes, but the thing is, everybody's doing it. So, I would rather say, if you don't do it, then it will have a driver effect on your profitability.
Right.
It's difficult to probably say with accuracy how much of an impact it has, but if you looked at sort of the Calgary or the Alberta flood events, I mean, if you could introduce this kind of improved technology, and then if you could recreate the flood, then you would know whether, your model worked or not.
Right.
And I mean, the floods will never happen in the same place and
Right.
the same
Right.
magnitude, so it's probably a little bit more difficult, but you could probably see, at least you're probably in a better position to identify blind spots now and take action on those, and then hopefully in future events you're better protected.
Right.
From a portfolio management perspective, it's really helps to think about are we selling as much of a particular type of product as we should in a particular area? So if you're in an earthquake zone, do we have the right penetration in that market. So, usually people buy earthquake after there's an earthquake, and that's not mutually beneficial in the long term as you think about a particular product or an offer. And so thinking about portfolio management and from a sales and marketing perspective, is there an approach from locational intelligence that can help inform some of those decisions or targeted marketing efforts?
Right. Well, you've seen some insurance companies offering flood products in the market today where this didn't exist 5-10 years ago. Is that because they have a better handle on location, at least in part? I mean, if you have that confidence, are you able to offer a product that you're more confident in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a fair speculation.
I saw a report recently on one of, not Canadian Underwriter, anyway, reported that, I guess, the FEMA numbers. The FEMA, they are reevaluating all that because they're the same thing. They're not really sure that data that they've been using for their flood stuff is accurate. And that's a huge transformation. Like, it's a paradigm shift for them to be putting all that stuff after we had the New Jersey stuff. I mean, so yeah, it's important consideration if you can get reliable data.
I agree. I mean, whether we will be more profitable or not, I don't know, but it will definitely, this insight and all these this capabilities it gives us will definitely be the benefit of for our customers, because we will have better risk understanding. We can communicate that to our customers, and even in a case of an event, a claim happens, we can be proactive in our dialogue with our customers.
We're going to move on to claims. Is there any other comments on underwriting before we move on to claims? Any other thoughts on underwriting?
I think the other thing we haven't touched on is the role in sort of loss prevention, risk management, because and I would actually be very interested in the extent to which you're seeing some insurance buyers using this sort of data and are then able to buy in a more sophisticated manner. I was thinking particularly about some of the sort of marine and trucking risks, because you've got much greater prevalence the use of RFID. So actually for high value cargoes, you can actually really track precisely where they are.
So the risk management clients could also be using location intelligence to basically say, we've got a good risk here. We understand our risk.
Yeah, we understand exactly where our value is at any point in time.
Right.
We can protect the weak spots.
Right. Plus, we don't have to deal with legacy systems, so we have access to the data right away. Sorry, I didn't mean to take a shot at you.
I think you're absolutely right. But I think everybody around this table would say this whole issue around legacy systems is something that is pretty unique to the insurers themselves,
Right.
and I'd also say some of the bigger intermediaries.
Right.
I think that's a fair comment.
I think it's a fair comment. It's always been an Achilles heel. For the risk management clients, I suppose that they have more access to data depending on how sophisticated they are. This wouldn't really come down to the individual consumer, though. They might not have access to the same kind of location analytics. I mean, they would probably be relying on the insurance companies to rate their property effectively.
Yeah.
So it's more on the
I was thinking
side.
more about sort of,
the larger clients.
things like pharmaceutical manufacturers.
Sure.
So, for example, if you're trucking legitimate drugs through Mexico, and I hasten So at one stage, I used to do a lot of work with the captive for one of the really big pharma companies.
Right.
And they had a very significant risk that those were very, very high value cargoes.
Right.